Hi, I'm Roshni, and here we have Richard from Karuschain. Hi, Richard. How are you?
Good.
How's your day today?
Great, pleasure to meet you. The conference has been quite exciting so far.
Okay, all right. So you're from Karuschain. So would you like to tell us about what's the future vision of Karuschain?
Okay, well, probably the best way to help you get there is to talk a little bit about how we started.
Okay, yeah.
And excuse me. So back in 2008, 2009 was the big recession.
All right.
And basically a lot of people got hurt financially, and they got hurt financially in the trading markets, but in particular I was involved back then in precious metals, gold and silver, and I did know a lot of people who lost a fortune because they believed they owned some gold and silver, but they actually in fact didn't. They owned a piece of paper that said they did. And it ended up many people owned that same brick or coin, and because it's called hypothecation, where somebody lends it, somebody buys it, and it ends up 10 people own it. And so a lot of people got hurt. So the concept of the idea was I wanted to protect in the future, the industry so that couldn't happen. And so I worked a number of years on the concept, and then blockchain came along. And of course, blockchain is about a single source of truth. And had that been the case back then, if somebody else would have tried to buy the same brick, you'd have known it, and you would have joint ownership. And so blockchain became the solution. Now it was to put it together with the industry itself. And so just recently we just closed a major deal with the largest software mining company, enterprise software mining company in the world. So it's like having 250 instant customers. Now the mining industry is $680 billion a year. And so you can see that the size and the scale of where we are in the most conservative business of the world. They mine, they dig, they do hard things, but the nice thing is the price of gold and silver is moving up again, and these companies have survived since that recession with very low income. Well, their income is now doubling and tripling in the last 6 months, and the one thing they want to do right away is to repair things that have gotten old and out of date. And of course, so reporting, accounting, and all these operations that happen inside of a mining industry, all of these now will connect on blockchain. And that goes from source to a refiner, to a manufacturer, to your cell phone, to a brick or a coin or a television. And so we're basically putting the blockchain together from source to the end buyer, where you can know that's green gold, that wasn't mined in a country that uses slavery. But also for the companies, all those companies in between, they also benefit because they all understand that source. And so the vision has been, and I put it this way, I'm not an American, but I like to use California, and I think of they had the gold rush in California, and then little towns popped up everywhere, and pretty soon somebody had a generator and a light bulb, and then the guy next door said, "Can I have some of your light?" And he put a wire over there, and it formed a utility of a little town. And if you can imagine these popping up in all these little towns, and then this guy buying that guy buying this guy, and all of a sudden you have a major power utility. Well, what we're developing here is a major utility. Because we're at the source of production, just like the source of that generator, people need to plug into what we do. Because if we want to follow that gold all the way to the point where that piece of jewelry you're wearing, you want to know the source of that. And I mean this genuinely. Your generation wants to know. They don't want to buy dirty gold. They want to have things that maybe young children have been working in a mine for. And so the whole world is adapting to that. The Swiss government is creating new regulation, and they all want to know the same answer. Well, the only place you can start is like the gold rush, at the bottom where it's produced, and then work your way up. So we just encapsulated the largest customer base of this type in one move, and now we build the rest. And so the vision of the company began at the start, and ultimately it ends with a utility that goes from production right through to the consumer.
Nice. That's a very nice explanation of how you got here and future vision, everything. Is there anything that you would like to say just before we sign off?
Well, I guess who are we talking to in this interview? So if you're a consumer,
the audience, yes.
Hey, great news. You can tell who you're buying from. If you're a producer, good news for you, because obviously you can set yourself apart and go, we do this right. If you're somebody in the middle of the manufacturer, you can tell your client that you use clean product. But I think the last thing you want to know is there's a lot of pressure in the world today. A lot of people want to see change. And it's sort of an evolutionary process. But for those people who think it's not happening, I think if I could say something nice today, it is happening, and it's happening now, and we're about to change how the most fundamental product of everything that's in this room. You know, these are commodities, and they end up being this or metal or lights and all those things, and we're actually going to make headway on environmental clean process. And I have kids, you know, and they're the ones going, you know, that's the dirtiest industry on earth, Dad, and I'm going, you're right, but this is how we're going to change it. And so if the good guys will join the blockchain right away, well, the bad guys aren't going to want to change because they're doing things wrong. And our little motto is we say we're doing it right. And with everybody good doing it and being in a blockchain and that reportable data, a bad guy with child slave labor cannot get or purchase that gold unless he's knowingly doing it. And of course, who wants to be the person who's knowingly buying the bad stuff? And also, this actually takes revenue that these poorer nations have lost and actually captures it so they can build schools. They now have the cash of all this secreted gold that leaves the country. They'll have their tax portion of that. And how do you get kids out of slavery? Education, knowledge, training. Well, if you have a government that can't afford it.
Opportunities to, get into.
So it's all tied together. And so that's what I want people to know, that's what we want to do. We want to make that difference. And we found a way to do it by using blockchain, which is an incredible technology that allows us to understand that single source of truth.
That was a lovely explanation, and it was very nice to know your thoughts. So I think we're done. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the event.
Great, thank you.